Why Seneca said most friendships are fake. You probably have more friends right now than almost any human being in history. A phone full of contacts, a feed full of people who like your posts, comment on your photos, send the occasional "we should catch up soon." And yet, be honest with yourself for a second. If something genuinely fell apart in your life tomorrow, how many of those people would actually show up? Not message you, not send a sympathetic emoji, show up. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, asked a version of this question almost 2,000 years ago. And his answer was uncomfortable enough that people still avoid sitting with it today. He believed that most relationships we call friendship aren't friendship at all. There's something else entirely, something that looks similar on the surface but is built from a completely different material underneath. Today, we're going to break down exactly what Seneca meant and how to tell the difference between the people who are actually in your corner and the people who are simply nearby. Segment 1, the friendship that isn't. Seneca drew a sharp distinction that most people never consciously make. There's friendship built on who someone is, and there's friendship built on what someone provides. The second kind is what he called useful friendship. Relationships that exist because they're convenient, beneficial, or comfortable in the moment. You enjoy their company because the conversation's easy. You stay close because you're useful to each other professionally. You maintain the relationship because ending it would be socially awkward. None of this makes someone a bad person. Most relationships, if we're honest, contain at least some of this. Seneca wasn't condemning convenience itself. What he was pointing at was something more specific, the danger of mistaking this kind of relationship for something deeper than it actually is. Because useful friendships share a defining feature. They're conditional. They last exactly as long as the usefulness does. The moment the convenience disappears, you change jobs, you move away, you stop being entertaining, you go through something difficult and become, frankly, less fun to be around, the relationship has nothing left to stand on. It wasn't built to survive that moment. It was never tested for it. Segment 2. Why this is so hard to see from the inside. Here's what makes this particularly tricky. From the inside, a useful friendship can feel exactly like a real one. You laugh together. You text regularly. There's warmth, familiarity, even genuine affection in the moment. So how would you ever know the difference? Until the moment that actually tests it? Seneca's answer was blunt. You generally don't. Not until adversity arrives. This is precisely why hardship, as unwelcome as it is, ends up revealing something that comfort never could. Prosperity, he observed, makes it almost impossible to tell real friends from convenient ones. Because everyone behaves similarly when things are going well. It costs nothing to be supportive of someone whose life is already working. The real information arrives later, when something goes wrong, when you need something that isn't fun to give. Time, emotional labor, inconvenience, loyalty that costs the other person something. That's the moment useful friendships quietly reveal their actual foundation. Not through cruelty, usually, just through absence. A slow fade, reduced contact, a friendship that simply stops requiring effort to maintain on either side, because there was never much holding it together besides convenience in the first place. Segment 3, the friendship Seneca actually believed in. So what did Seneca consider real friendship, if not this? He believed genuine friendship was built on shared character, not shared benefit. You're not drawn to someone because of what they can do for you, but because of who they fundamentally are, and because being around them makes you more aligned with who you actually want to be. This kind of friendship doesn't evaporate under pressure. If anything, pressure tends to strengthen it, because real friends don't show up only when it's easy. They show up specifically when it isn't. There's a particular detail in Seneca's writing on the subject worth sitting with. He believed you should take your time deciding who to trust, genuinely, deliberately evaluate someone's character before extending real vulnerability to them. But once you've made that decision, he believed in trusting completely, not cautiously, not with one foot out the door, hedging against betrayal. Exekinons. This sounds almost reckless by modern standards, where we're constantly told to protect our peace by trusting no one fully. But Seneca's logic was different. He believed that constantly half-trusting everyone, extending partial vulnerability to people you haven't actually decided are trustworthy, produces the worst of both outcomes. You get the risk of trust without the depth that makes real friendship valuable in the first place. Real friendship, in his view, required actual stakes, genuine closeness, the kind of trust that makes betrayal possible, because without that possibility, you were never actually close to begin with. Segment 4, Taksimig, the mirror test. Here's a practical way to apply Seneca's thinking to your own relationships. Ask yourself, would this person still be in my life if I had nothing to offer them? Not if I were unkind, not if I treated them badly, just if you stopped being convenient. If you stopped being impressive, entertaining, useful, or socially valuable in whatever specific way currently makes the relationship easy. This question makes some people uncomfortable because it cuts both directions. It's not just about identifying who might leave you, it's also an invitation to ask the same question about yourself. Am I someone's useful friend or their real one? Seneca's philosophy wasn't really about cataloging who to distrust. It was about developing the clarity to know the difference, so you stop investing the kind of vulnerability that real friendship deserves into relationships that were never built to hold it. Here's the practical cost of getting this wrong. When you treat a useful friendship as though it's a real one, you end up surprised, hurt, even betrayed when it behaves exactly as it was always going to. Not because the other person did anything unusually cruel, but because you extended trust the relationship was never actually equipped to carry. Segment 5, Why Modern Life Makes This Harder. This distinction mattered to Seneca 2,000 years ago. It matters considerably more now. Modern social structures are, in a sense, engineered to multiply useful friendships while making real ones harder to maintain. Social media rewards breadth over depth, hundreds of loosely connected acquaintances, a constant stream of low-effort interaction, the appearance of an active social life without the actual substance underneath it. It's entirely possible now to have hundreds of friends, constant digital contact, a calendar full of social plans, and still feel the specific hollow loneliness Seneca was warning about. Because volume was never the variable that mattered, depth was. There's also a subtler trap modern life sets. Constant low-stakes social contact can create an illusion of closeness that hasn't actually been tested by anything. You might believe you have a strong support network until the moment you genuinely need it and discover how much of it was built on convenience rather than character. This isn't a reason for cynicism or isolation, it's a reason for clarity. Knowing which relationships in your life are useful and which are real lets you invest your energy and your trust where it actually has a chance to be reciprocated. Segment 6. What this means for how you choose friends. So how do you actually apply this going forward? Seneca's advice was, in some ways, slower and more deliberate than how most people approach friendship today. He believed in observing someone's character over time before extending real trust, watching how they behave under small pressures, how they speak about other people when those people aren't present, how they handle situations that don't directly benefit them. This runs against the instinct to bond quickly, to mistake intensity for depth, to assume that someone who's immediately warm and engaging must be a real friend rather than simply a pleasant acquaintance. It also means accepting something that can feel uncomfortable, that most people in your life, even people you genuinely like, may simply be useful friends, not because anyone did anything wrong, just because most relationships, by nature, don't go through the kind of testing that reveals something deeper. And that's fine. Useful friendships still have value. Seneca wasn't suggesting you eliminate them or treat every casual relationship with suspicion. He was suggesting something more specific, that you stop confusing them with the rarer, deeper kind of friendship and stop being surprised when a useful friendship behaves like exactly what it always was. Here's the lesson, stated plainly. Most of what we call friendship today is closer to what Seneca called useful, pleasant, convenient, mutually beneficial, and entirely conditional on that convenience continuing. That's not a tragedy, it's simply accurate. The mistake isn't having useful friendships. The mistake is mistaking them for something they were never built to be, and then feeling betrayed when they behave exactly as they always would have. Real friendship, the kind Seneca actually believed in, is rarer. It's built slowly, tested by difficulty, and sustained by character rather than convenience. So here's a question worth sitting with. Think about the people closest to you right now. If your circumstances change completely tomorrow, if you had nothing left to offer, nothing impressive, nothing convenient, who would still be there? That isn't a comfortable question, but Seneca would tell you it's the only one that actually matters. If this gave you something to think about, that's exactly what this channel's for. Subscribe to Booked Wisdom because knowing who's actually in your corner starts with knowing the difference.